Welcome to the Valiant podcast. My name is David.
I'm Jonathan.
We are believers, and today we are discussing Romans 12. This is our third attempt at trying to get through all of Romans 12 in a single episode, and It did not go well. But watch the previous episodes, super deep dive into Romans 12. It's been epic, I think.
Yeah, they're actually pretty good. I really like them.
They've been excellent. So we are going to continue on. I think we'll just jump right in. What do you think?
Go for it.
And we are on... I'll start in verse 12 because that's kind of close to where we were, a little bit earlier. It says to rejoice in hope, be patient in tribulation, continuing steadfastly in prayer, distributing to the needs of the saints, given to hospitality. Bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse.
Did we talk about that verse?
This one we did not.
Okay.
Bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse. And then, that's the only verse on that thought.
Yeah, okay. I mean, that's kind of a common Christian kind of belief, right? But do you have like a deeper, evaluation of that?
Well, I think if you think about how Jesus talked about that verse in his words, or this concept is blessing those who persecute you is about doing good for them. And that can be, first of all, pray for them. Jesus said to pray for your enemies. So the first step to blessing someone who's cursing you, if you can't do anything else, is to pray for them. So some relationships, some people say you have to love from a distance, right? Like you're not always going to be able to have a close relationship with somebody that's persecuting you, usually because of the persecutions themselves. And so for most people, blessing them when they curse you is really just about praying for them. That's probably what most people can do if you can't do anything else. Otherwise, if you do have more of a relationship, like if it's a coworker, for instance, and you've continued at this job, they know you're a believer and they're mistreating you for it, then it's continuing to speak kindly and do good for that person, even when they're mistreating you. And that could include going the extra mile to perform gestures or acts of kindness that would not be expected of you for how you're being treated,
Even like spending time with them or, holding conversation with them. When you really don't want to.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Praying for someone who curses you is actually really difficult in my experience. It's really humbling,
Very much so. And that's why we need to do it.
Yeah.
Because it forces you to think in a positive way towards a person and forces you to think about, what God would want for them and how God would want you to think of them. And it's a very healthy exercise for your mind. That's often why praying for enemies or those who persecute you is, yes, about the person you're praying for, but it's also largely about you and your own mind, because it changes how you think about a person when every time you think about them, you intentionally pray for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't mean the type of prayer that's like, oh, God, they're so terrible. Just change them so that my life will be easier. Mm-hmm. That's not the type of prayer we're talking about. It's where you genuinely are thinking for their welfare and want them to be blessed and what you can pray for them for that to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another question I have, too, is it says your enemies. What makes someone your enemy?
Well, I think anybody who's placed themselves at odds with you, so they mistreat you, they think evil of you, do evil towards you, they're not acting in your best interest. They would rather see you with disadvantage or hurt rather than helped.
I suppose. I guess I just don't experience very many enemies in my day-to-day. Do you experience enemies?
Well, most people don't, but it could be, it's not like a person has made themselves your enemy for all time, but it could mean somebody just mistreats you in some way or is rude to you.
I see.
That's like in a small way what it would look like.
Yeah, I mean, in the day-to-day of our modern life, it's probably just someone cutting you off on the highway or being demeaning, like a bad server or something.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And reacting with kindness.
Yeah. Oh, tipping a bad server well is pretty epic. It's
that I don't know if I agree with.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You don't think so?
Not because you want people to, particularly when it comes to wages, like the biblical principle is you give the worker is worthy of his wages, and you give the wage that a person deserves for their labor. And so when it comes to work ethic, you're not helping a person's work ethic by giving them a generous tip when they were genuinely a terrible waiter. If somebody's trying to do good and they just nothing's going right, or they're super stressed and there's like a lot of tables, then I wouldn't worry about it, because you're like, I know they're trying and I appreciate their effort. But if it's like they're just on purpose being a terrible waiter or waitress, then I wouldn't tip them really good.
Interesting.
That was really that was like an ogre frog.
Well, I hope that shows up. That was cool.
You had a pretty intense swallow earlier too.
Yeah, you heard that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, it was pretty intense. So, I have this story where, well, it's a short story. We had a server we were at a fancy restaurant, but we kind of looked like a bad table, I think. And, we totally got ignored. Like, she came to the table to drop off the food. We had to find her to get our check. She never came to the table, right? Hannah and Grace didn't want to, if I remember correctly, like, just didn't want to give like a good tip. They wanted to just give like a minimum tip. And I was like, well, I want to bless her because it kind of felt like we were genuinely being targeted to not be served well, because she thought we weren't going to be worth her time, basically. That's what I felt.
Right.
And I wanted to basically maybe bless her by totally surprising her with a big tip. And I did, but Hannah didn't want to or whatever. And so did her mom. And I don't know, would you agree with that? Like, is that blessing your enemy?
I think there's some cases where that's appropriate, but I think you have to be led by, that could have been like discernment in that case, where the Spirit can tell you to do something like that. So like if you're told to, or you have a conviction to do so, then I think it's probably a good idea. But I think in a lot of cases, it's probably not best to reward someone highly for intentionally bad behavior.
Okay. And I suppose it's financial, which makes it different.
Mm-hmm.
This verse isn't necessarily talking about financial is probably part of it.
It is part of it.
But it's not like money all the time.
Right. There's lots of ways that you bless somebody.
Yeah. Prayer is a big one.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
All right, let's keep going. So then it says, rejoice with those who rejoice, and weep with those who weep. Be of the same mind toward one another. Do not set your mind on high things, but associate with the humble. Do not be wise in your own opinion.
Okay.
Those are two good verses.
Yeah. The first one kind of connects to the second one, but then it changes thoughts. I've been wondering, the order of verses seems to be very important. Because like, go to the next one. It says in the first thought, be of the same mind toward one another, but then it says, do not set your mind on high things, but associate with the humble. So is he saying, obviously it is kind of two separate thoughts, but my first thought is, he says, if they weep, weep. If they rejoice, rejoice. But then he says, do not set your mind on high things. So is he sort of saying, like, don't be thinking about, or maybe like talking with prideful people about prideful things, like high things? Is that what he's talking about?
I think that could be part of it. The first verse, so the beginning of the second verse saying, be of the same mind toward each other, is connected to the previous verse in that you are being better unified with people when you are relatable. Relatability helps deepen relationships down to the level of rejoicing with those who rejoice and weeping with those who weep. So it's sort of like, if people are joyful, be joyful with them. Don't be a party pooper,
Yeah.
Or if people are weeping, weep with them. Like, you don't be super excited and happy when people are sad. So like there's a case where you do need to respect other people's feelings and emotions to a degree, to a point, right? And that's important for unity and closeness of relationships between believers. Then getting into the following verse, be of the same mind toward each other, using that relatability, but then also don't set your mind on high things. I think an additional point about being of the same mind also has to do with different parts of the Bible that talk about being unified in your doctrine, in your humility. So like make sure your beliefs are consistent, be in agreement, essentially, be in agreement. But then do not set your mind on high things, but associate with the humble. For me, at least if I think about how I would apply this verse in my life in a way that's relevant now, is that I have to, particularly as a teacher doing Bible teaching, I have to make sure that with pretty much all of the audience that I find myself teaching, that I can't focus my studies and teachings on really deep topics that might benefit my personal life. I need to focus on the matters that are necessary for the basics and more or less new believers. And so that is things like, which are always important for every believer: repentance, belief, Jesus, who he is, his life, that kind of thing. The Son and his walk and his message, the gospel, right? So those are matters that are necessary for all people, but especially new believers. And so in associating with the humble, I also have to make sure my mind is not set on matters that are too deep, right? Or too high.
That's high things?
It could be. That's like one way you would apply it.
Okay.
Right? So it's sort of like saying, hey, make sure that you are communicating with people on a level they can understand when it comes to teaching.
Oh,
right?
I see what
So that's
you're
like
saying.
one way you can apply it.
Yeah.
Right? And then there's other things such as, you don't want to be known as the person that's only interested in the wealthy and powerful. You should be interested in all people, and you should care about all kinds of people. And the humble really are those who are believers. And so you should have care for believers no matter who they are or where they came from, and not just try to associate with people that are the wealthy, the powerful, the famous, the whatever.
Yeah. The big shots.
Or like really try to get attention or time with the big boys that you really respect, but then you don't really care as much to build relationship with people that are, the oddballs or the people that are sometimes left out or whatever. You should want to spend time with all people, all believers especially.
Okay. So, yeah, that's a lot there. The first thing about rejoicing with those who rejoice and weeping with those who weep, I think it's pretty common for believers. Well, maybe not common. Maybe common to be kind of weird regarding, I don't know, being human. You kind of experienced this. We talked about this before, but you being younger around me and my friends, and you were just starting to get into being a Christian, and we were all just like playing video games, doing whatever. And I remember you making an effort to do things I knew you didn't really like with us, like video games and things like that, just to spend more time with me and my friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I always found that interesting as a kid, especially because I'm like, I feel like I know he doesn't like this, but he's doing it with us. So, and he sucks at Halo. So like, why would he always play Halo with us? But you would do it anyways. That's sort of what this verse is saying, right? Like, rejoice with those who rejoice, weep with those who weep. Like, do the things that people are doing, and don't be like overly positive if someone's not being positive.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if someone's grieving over something or like depressed over something that is vain and empty, don't like deny them their grief, right?
Well, it's more like you have to respect the fact that even though with your level of understanding, what they're grieving about to you is vain, to them it's not. And perception is reality. So when people think something is a certain way, in their mind it is that way. And so it's usually not helpful to speak to them as if they have your mind, because they don't. It's better to encourage them on the level that they are able to understand. And then you gradually work their way up with you to a new understanding over time. So that's why you can't force a certain mindset on someone that they're not ready to have, And so that's why you have to think about with discernment, how can I speak to this person in a way that will encourage them, but will not be condescending or downplay what they feel is reality. Even though it's not, they think it is. And you have to respect that to a point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. To a point. Well, okay. 2 questions. Perception is reality. I've never heard that before, but it's pretty deep. Is that you're not saying is that true, or you're saying that's true to people?
I'm not quoting it like a Bible verse. It's just a common statement as far as psychology is concerned, which is that reality for a person is what they perceive it is.
Sure.
So like how you think of something
Hmm.
is to you what's real, even if it's not actually real.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it is with people's mind and emotions. When they're really emotional about something, they think that's reality, even though it might not actually be.
Okay.
It's like when you get super stressed or anxious about something and it's not that big of a deal,
Yeah.
and a person across from you is like, bro, it's not that big of a deal, and you're freaking out and you think it's a huge deal. It's your perception.
Yeah.
So that's your reality.
Huh. I've never heard that. That's pretty deep. Okay, and then you said to a point.
Right. What I mean by to a point is that you don't want to agree with a person's emotions if it's now in the realm of being sinful. So like if somebody's in sin, you wouldn't want to agree with them being in sin, or you support them being in sin, and so that's why you have to kind of know where the line is. So like for example, if we're talking about grief, weeping with those who weep. If someone is grieving over the loss of a loved one and it's been a long time and they're still grieving, you can weep with them to the point that you show sympathy for how hard it is for them and acknowledge how hard it is for them without agreeing with things like them continuing to be lazy because of their grief when, say, they have a family to provide for, right? So, like, the Bible tells us all these things we're responsible to do, and it does tell you can grieve, but if a person's grief or your grief leads to sin in other areas, you wouldn't want to agree with that sin, So you can affirm a person's emotions and affirm how hard it is for them to go through what they're going through without agreeing with sin. And so that's where you want to make sure you're careful.
Yeah, I think of the example too. Someone might be rejoicing over something sinful as well, like
Right.
excited about sinning. You shouldn't be excited with them
Right.
about that.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah.
Go to the next verse after the rejoice one. 16, yeah. Be of the same mind toward one another. And so he's talking about toward believers, right? Be of the same
Yep.
mind toward believers.
Yep.
That verse alone, is that just basically talking about doctrine? Like make sure you guys understand the same stuff?
That's part of it, yeah.
What's
Yeah.
the other part?
Well, we talked about this earlier. Do you remember
Oh,
this verse?
yeah.
Anyways, what I said about being of the same mind is rejoicing with those who rejoice, weeping with those who weep.
Yeah.
The relatability allows deepening relationships, but then there's also the doctrine part of it. So you're in agreement
Okay, so it's two
on what
parts.
you believe.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the rejoicing with those who rejoice is applied to everyone and believers, but then this part's because he says one another, he's talking to believers. So he's saying make sure you guys are on the same page.
Yeah.
Which honestly, I think that can be easily overlooked because most believers, most humans, maybe this is a Minnesota thing, it's so touchy to talk about opinions of things. Telling someone what the Bible says versus what they say, I think can be really, really hard and scary to do because you don't want to offend your friend.
Right.
But we are called to be on the same page.
Right.
So if someone says something totally blatantly unbiblical, you should, I mean, this is the rejoice with those who rejoice. Relate with them, be normal so that you can be on the same page.
Right. Yeah, you build unity over time. You don't just go from being in total disagreement to in agreement instantly. It takes time and trust built through relationship and so on. So it's a lot of different.
Mm-hmm. And then
things
do
in
not
that
set your
process.
mind on high things. You were saying that it's like deep things that are really above, but associate with the humble. High things, I could see, yes, what you're saying, deep subjects that are too deep, but I feel like that's not the only meaning to this verse.
No, it's definitely not the only meaning.
What's the other?
I really want to look at other notes that I've written on this verse because the only other thing that I thought of up to this point is the wanting to, because he's talking about with people associate with the humble.
Mm-hmm.
That could also mean setting your mind on high things could mean only associating or wanting only to associate with people that you consider high or greater,
Mm-hmm.
James talks about it where you want to associate with the wealthy and powerful and sit with them, but then you ignore the poor man. So it's also that like you should want to help all kinds of people, and not just want to hang out with people that are popular. You know?
But he's saying setting your mind on high things. So you're just saying thinking about doing that?
And doing it, period.
Yeah.
Like setting your mind on high things is going to, what you set your mind on will affect who you spend your time with too. Because you're going to find the people that think the way that you think. That's just how relationships are. And so if you're associating with the humble, that means your mind already is thinking in a way that's relatable and loving to people that are humble.
Okay.
You know?
I think I'm starting to get it. So it'd be like me thinking, this is actually something I kind of, maybe I should repent of, where I'm always thinking how I want to be successful and big and like, do a lot. Like I always imagine my future being big, but that's not very humble. And it's also not very, those are high things, you would say. And so instead I should be thinking like a person who maybe has nothing and is just thinking about how I can help people, not like how I'm going to be a big shot where I want to be around big people.
I agree partly with that. Although it might be considered a high thing to a person that doesn't think that way and is not very ambitious, it's not necessarily prideful or high-minded to want to be successful. It's more about why you want to have that success and what you plan to do with it. And you can do both at the same time. Sometimes people think that like, oh, if I'm going to be successful, I can't be thinking about, helping out people that don't think that way. Because then you just get really narrow-minded and really selfish. It's more about, I'm going to pursue these ambitions for the glory of God to be successful so that I can have an example of success for the kingdom. But then at the same time, I'm not going to be thinking about that so much that I'm not relatable to the person that's struggling or the person that is not ambitious or the person that doesn't think that way. You don't have to cut off every single person that doesn't want to be a huge business owner or entrepreneur. It just means you pursue that while also making sure you stay relatable to the people that are maybe more humble or modest, you could say, in the way that they think.
Okay, so just don't be chewing your head about big stuff. Like still be grounded, and it's okay to think you want to be successful because that might be high to someone else. It's not very clear to me. Can you go back to the verse?
Mm-hmm.
Do not set your mind on high things, but associate with the humble. So he's sort of saying, like, consider yourself humble. Like, be humble in how you think. So just don't think of yourself as really legit. Oh, yeah, because he says, do not be wise in your own opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, you shouldn't consider yourself to be a wise person, right? Would that be correct to say?
Well, yeah, you're not supposed to say to your, like the Proverbs says, don't let your own mouth praise you. Like you're not supposed to be thinking, oh, I'm really wise. You're supposed to believe that you're not, and that you have a lot to learn. And that also changes who you hang out with too, because you're always going to want to be learning, and so that means if you always want to learn, you always will ask questions, and you'll always be interested in people. Because you'll want to learn however you can learn from wherever wisdom can come from,
Yeah, okay. So to not set your mind on high things and to associate with the humble, you basically just have to consider yourself not wise and always be searching for humility, wisdom, knowledge, and you'll get it as long as you don't think you're wise or think about these like deeper subjects that aren't important. Like instead, just think about other people, associate with them, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that.
So like the main statement is just do not be wise in your own opinion, and all those things just kind of follow.
I mean, they're all kind of standalone sentences. Like, don't set your mind on high things, but associate with the humble. Do not be wise in your own opinion. They stand alone, but they also go hand in hand.
Interesting.
You're never really going to have one without the other ones. Like, you have to be of the same mind toward people and want to be relatable in order to associate with them, which requires you not thinking beyond what matters to people and not being wise in your own opinion, because you can start to be rude to other people if you're thinking like, man, I'm wise and everybody else is dumb. If that's how you think, you're not going to be unified in mind towards other people, and you're certainly not going to want to associate with them as a result.
I see.
It's sort of like this attitude of like, oh, these people don't think the way I think, so I'm not going to hang out.
They don't get it.
And that's not how you're supposed to think. If you're doing well in your relationships and you're succeeding in being Christ-like, you're not going to be thinking that way. Your mindset's going to be, I want to do what's helpful for these people, and I want to serve these people, and so I want to be relatable, and people will actually like you, love spending time with you, and they'll see you as someone that cares about the things that they care about. And that's really what it comes down to. You should care about what other people care about. And no matter who you're around, whether they're rich or poor, black or white, male or female, doesn't matter. Care about what they care about. And that's how you be unified in your mind towards them, not high-minded in your opinion, and also associating with the humble.
Deep. Yeah, okay, that makes a ton of sense. I like how they are all standalone statements, but they all lead to the same thing. Okay, very cool. That's good.
Wow, that took a while. That was just verse 16. Okay. So next? We're 26 minutes in. We'll be all right.
All right.
Repay no one evil for evil. Have regard for good things in the sight of all men.
Repay no evil for evil. Have regard.
That verse is very similar to bless those who persecute you. So when people do evil to you, don't do evil back. Do good to them,
Okay, and regard for good things in the sight of all men. What does that mean?
One more statement on repay no one evil for evil. Another way of putting that is, don't let someone sin against you cause you to sin against them. Because then you're equally a sinner. It's sort of like in Proverbs where it says, don't speak to the fool according to his folly, lest you be like him. The point is, like, if a fool speaks to you and you respond with more foolishness, you're just as much a sinner as they are. And they're not the only one at fault just because they were the instigator. If you retaliate with sin to someone who sinned against you, you're the same sinner as they are. So don't do that.
Yeah.
Have self-control, control your reactions to people, and be kind and treat them well.
Yeah.
No matter what.
That's why it's a little different than bless those who curse you, because in addition to bless them, you want to make sure you don't sin also.
Right.
Yeah, you could sin them, but you could, like you were saying, like a blessing that is like a prayer that's like prideful and demeaning.
Kind of snarky.
Yeah, snarky. That would be like repaying evil for evil.
Mm-hmm. At least behind closed doors and how you think about them,
Yeah.
So then have regard for good things in the sight of all men. My understanding of that verse is simply all people should see that you care about and you value things that are good, not things that are evil. So you stand for integrity, kindness, providing for your family, just being a noble, upstanding person. All people should see what you care about, and that the things you care about are things that actually matter. People shouldn't see you like caring or like passionate about things that don't matter and just like meaningless, like especially sinful things. You should care about things that matter, and people should see that.
Yeah, everyone should say, oh yeah, Jonathan, he's that guy that has regard for good things.
Right.
He actually cares about good stuff.
Right.
Everyone should know you as that person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I think before I was really saved, I wasn't known as somebody who had regard for good things, but in my own head, I did. But like you said, perception is reality. So if everyone perceives me as someone who's just like, like everyone else, into their own sin, that's their reality of me. Their perception of me is that.
Yeah.
And you can't change someone's perception of you without actually being it, like without actually having regard for good. You can fake it as much as you can, but Proverbs says what? Like all sinners will be found out. Like everything will be revealed.
Mm-hmm.
You can't fake that. And so in the sight of all men, I think is really important. It's like fruit. It's like proof of fruit, because you can't. I mean, when you hang out with someone and you see negative behavior, like sinful behavior, it's like, oh, geez, like that's not very Christ-like.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a dead giveaway.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. So, have regard for good things in the sight of all men. People should know that you care about what's good.
Do they need to know?
Well, I think they will.
I see. Yeah,
They will if you're doing it right. Yeah.
they will. Okay, that's good.
If it is possible, as much as depends on you, live peaceably with all men. So this verse, I love this verse. It's one of my favorite in this chapter because it makes it clear that what he's not saying is that the commandment is to live peaceably with everyone, because that's not always possible. But what is possible is to do everything you can do to be at peace with people. So as much as depends on you, be at peace with all men. So that is great because it lets you know that if you are not doing everything you can do to be at peace in a relationship, you still have some blame in it. But if after you've done everything you can do, there's still not peace, then it's not on your head anymore. Their blood's not on your hands, and you can have a clear conscience.
Mm-hmm.
But if there's animosity in a relationship and you're not doing anything about it, then Jesus said you should deal with it before you try to move on to other things. You know,
Deal with it, meaning like do what you can do.
do what you can do to make peace.
Okay, I've had a relationship with this friend where it ended recently, and you know he got mad at me, and basically said like, you know, we're not going to talk anymore. That would be an example where he obviously doesn't want to talk to me anymore, so I shouldn't stress about fixing that relationship,
Right.
because he made it clear he was done. And then if I do have the opportunity to speak with him again, to take the opportunity, do what I can do, but don't worry, because
Right.
it's out of my hands now. Like,
Right.
there's nothing I can do.
Mm-hmm.
And
Except pray for him.
yeah, pray for him. Yeah, true. Bless him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, bless those who curse you, and don't do evil against him. So don't talk bad about him or see him as, evil.
Exactly.
Pray for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's pretty deep.
If you get the opportunity, do what's good.
He really does make two statements that say, if it is possible, as much as depends on you, live peaceably.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do everything you can to make peace. Yeah.
Mm.
Beloved, do not avenge yourselves, but rather give place to wrath. For it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, says the Lord. Therefore, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him a drink. For in so doing, you will heap coals of fire on his head.
Love that verse.
Great verse. So when somebody does evil to you, and you think you should get back at them to avenge yourself, that is you trying to take the place of judge, when that should be deferred to God, because he's responsible for bringing about wrath for sin or vengeance for sin, and he will bring it. So don't worry about it.
Don't avenge, meaning like, well, okay, aren't we supposed to, well, I'm thinking of this verse, but I realized that was an incorrect interpretation. Are we supposed to love justice? Like, what's right?
Yeah, I'm glad you bring that up. So yes, we are supposed to love justice. Seek justice, love mercy, walk humbly with your God, in fact, is one of the famous verses, and I think it's Micah that says that. So justice is important, but we have to remember that justice is limited. The extent to which a human can enact justice is limited, and God has given authority to human government, specifically authorities, to bring about justice, and that is sort of like an exception to the rule of don't avenge yourself. Because in the case of vengeance, where a law is broken, a law of a country that's broken, and then there's justice to meet that wrongdoing, that's right, and that's not the type of thing that he's talking about here. In that case, you do bring about quote unquote vengeance for laws being broken in a country or nation. But when it comes to this verse, as far as I know, he's talking about those more personal situations where someone's done wrong to you, and you feel like outside of the laws of the land or outside of God's law, you think you have to do something to them to sort of get revenge for what they did to you, or to give them what you think they deserve. If you don't think they're really getting what they deserve and you try to give it to them, that would be breaking this commandment, because it's God's job to bring vengeance. And I think it's largely because we don't actually know the extent of a person's sin. We don't always know what's really going on in their heart and the secrets of their heart. And so we don't actually know how to properly bring the full justice that is deserved, or vengeance to a person that's deserved for their sin. God is the only one that can do that. And so that's why we should let him do that, because he will, and just hands off and let God deal with it. Because if we do try to bring vengeance, number one, that's not good for our hearts, because that just continues to cause unforgiveness and bitterness to fester even more. So we don't want to do it for that reason. And then also because there's a proverb that says, when someone mistreats you and then you sin against them afterwards, it says God might turn away his wrath from the person who sinned against you and put it on you instead. So when it says give place to wrath, it's really interesting that it reads it that way, because it almost implies that like wrath coming on them at all could change depending on how you react to what they did to you. Like give place to it. It's sort of like permit God's wrath.
Oh yeah, like step away.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, get out of the way. Don't take it.
And I think, of course, God will bring his wrath. He will punish sin as it's deserved, period. But I think this verse is sort of teaching us to think of it like, hey, if you don't give place to wrath, it might change the outcome of a situation, in the sense that you might then be punished instead of them, or something like that. Like there's a level to which your reactions to a person could change what actually happens, which is really interesting.
Yeah, it's like someone wrongs you and then you could take it in your own hands. Mm-hmm. You are like literally taking the wrath away from God and putting it in your hands, which are like tiny. Mm-hmm. Not at all what actually needs to happen. Yeah, like get out of the way. God will deal with it. Dude.
Yeah, it's super interesting. I think there's probably more to this than we understand, of course, but yeah, I'm curious. I wonder if that is a thing where like God will not bring vengeance on a person's sin and put it on you instead if you tried to take wrath. Well, it's from him.
Yeah, the way I see it is like someone does something wrong, and then you decide to do like to handle the justice period, and God's like, well, you already gave them your lame human vengeance, like, all right,
lame human vengeance.
Yeah, fine. I'm not going to do mine anymore, and I'll put it on you because you were a jerk. It's like, yeah, that's interesting. It's almost like we can do it, like we can do the vengeance if we want to. But it's stupid to do that.
Yeah, it is. It's weird. The proverb, I forget the reference to the proverb, but the proverb literally says not to take vengeance against your enemies, lest, it says, to avoid the Lord turn away his wrath from him, from the enemy, which implies that can happen, where like God won't bring wrath on that person anymore, which is really weird. I wonder.
Wow. That puts a lot of pressure on humans.
It does. Maybe it has to do with like the earthly case, like God's judgment on earth maybe won't come on that person. But if that person still goes to hell,
Yeah, it's not like we're deciding their eternity.
No, because we're not the judge.
Yeah.
But maybe it's like in the physical sense, there might be certain consequences God would allow in their physical life that would be withdrawn and placed on you instead.
Like breaking someone's legs for not paying you back. Like that was the human justice that you gave them. But that was a really extreme example. I don't know why. That's like the cliche mob thing, But it's like, let God deal with it. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure it would probably be way worse than breaking your legs. I think. Right? Because God would do it.
I don't know that God would break someone's legs.
No, I know. I mean, it's probably worse than that.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's in general going to hell. Like is, obviously
probably
a lot worse than that.
Yeah.
Like even if nothing bad happened to a person on earth, but then all the punishment comes in hell, that's still going to be way worse and what they actually deserved. Than what you could do. to them.
But it says lest. I guess maybe it doesn't say guarantee it's going to not go on them. It's just saying
Right.
like it might go on you
Yeah,
instead.
like
So you
that
best be
has now
careful.
become a possibility.
Yeah.
So I think all that to say, to make sure it stays simple, is that it's really important that we don't try to take revenge on people for the wrong they do to us, because vengeance is God's job, not ours. And if you do try to take vengeance, it could end up being worse for you and not as bad for them.
Yeah.
You know.
I also wanted to make one more comment. You did bring up the point that human authority has the authority to take justice.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you said this too, that God has appointed those people and authorities.
Yes.
What's that verse?
Romans 13.
Oh,
The authorities that exist are appointed by God. He who resists authority resists the ordinance of God.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So they are kind of an extension of God's justice, right? Because he appointed them, and then they're going to take justice on the laws that they made.
Yeah.
So obviously, if you break the law and you get sent to prison, like that's sort of God sending you to prison because he appointed the authority.
Yeah, it's also kind of a way that you let vengeance belong to God.
Yeah, true.
Because if God is the one that appointed the authorities that exist, and you let the law deal with the criminal and not try to take revenge yourself, that also is a way that you defer vengeance to God. You know.
Wow.
So that also is pretty deep.
Bro, this is kind of deep because if you are in authority, right, like one who does take justice, someone who shoots someone who is to like protect someone else, you're kind of like an extension of God's vengeance. I mean, this is kind of deep. That's kind of high things, but
Yeah.
I never thought about it like
A little
that
bit.
though.
But yeah, it's true. It's good.
Now
This is
you got to
super
stay
interesting.
humble. You got to stay humble. That's why if you're in authority, like, ooh, dude, if you are like a place in authority where you take vengeance on people, that's why you're judged so hard, dude, because you're an extension of God's vengeance. So if you,
Ooh, that's a bigger responsibility.
yeah, that's a huge responsibility. You're now like God to people, you know, because you're the person responsible for taking the wrath. So if you're like evil and you do it and you don't do what's right, oh man, super bad.
Super bad.
Oh, deep.
Deep.
Next verse.
All right. Therefore, if you have an enemy and he's hungry, feed him. If he's thirsty, give him a drink. For in so doing, you'll heap coals of fire on his head. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good.
Oh, you got to go back one first. Love that verse, the heaping coals on the fire head verse.
The heaping coals on the fire head.
Deep.
Yeah. So the way that you can win over an enemy ultimately to salvation, to Christ, is bless him by giving him what he needs when he's hungry or thirsty. It's sort of like when someone wants or needs something, give it to him. And in heaping coals of fire on his head, that will allow you to overcome evil with good rather than being overcome by evil.
Oh, because if someone is evil to you, you could be overcome by them if you just sin back at them.
Right.
Because now you're letting evil win.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. So when we treat evil with good, we're beating evil because we're proving it doesn't actually affect us. Whoa.
We're saying that we will not sin. We won't let evil done to us cause us to sin. Because when you sin, you fail.
Yeah.
When you don't sin, you succeed. And oftentimes, simply just not sinning is the way that you heap coals of fire on someone's head.
Because they
you know?
expect it.
You're right, exactly. And it's annoying, it's irritating when you don't sin no matter how much they sin against you.
Yeah.
You know? And irritating in a good way. And then in addition to that, if you still consider their wants and needs and give them what they want, people are like, what the heck? It freaks them out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It breaks people down. Because you do that enough times, it's so funny because you're right. They get irritated and it almost, I mean, if someone's like really hardened, it almost influences them to be worse to you. Like they want to just multiply their evil to like try to, it's like they want to prove that you're not actually good. And oftentimes people will continue to beat you down until you break, right? But if you don't break, that's sort of why if you want someone to help someone get saved who's really hardened, you yourself probably have to be a really strong believer in your faith, so that when they do try and you continue to not fail, eventually the annoyance turns to every time it's the coals, but eventually it breaks them down to the point where they can't anymore. They just can't deny that you are good.
Right. And it makes them want to be like you. They want to be saved.
Wow.
Yeah. So, super deep. Yeah, and then it just says, to close it, don't be overcome by evil, overcome evil with good. That's how you do it.
Don't be overcome by evil. And the way we become overcome is by being evil ourselves. If you repay evil with evil, you're being overcome by it.
Yes.
You're losing.
Yep.
Whoa. And that's not just with people. I mean, that's with everything. And that could be with yourself. If you do something that makes you want to sin and you just sin, you're failing. But overcome evil with good. And the way we do that is just by doing the opposite of what we want to do. Because sin makes you want to sin. It's like a domino effect with sin typically, right?
Yeah.
Dang.
Epic. And that's Romans 12. We did it. We made it through.
We zoomed through those last 7.
A lot of good things in Romans 12. Leave some comments if you have other ideas for different chapters that we should go over, that maybe you'd like answers for, chapters in the Bible that you haven't heard a lot of teaching on. We'll tackle anything, even if it's like some random chapter in Ezekiel or something crazy.
Well, do you have any suggestions?
Do I?
Yeah, for what we could do.
I mean, not in particular right now. I think another chapter in Romans is good. I think we could do something in the Old Testament. I love talking about the Old Testament. Personally.
Yeah.
I think that's super fun.
First Kings is pretty fun. I really like the Kings stories, the little ones, We should do... it sucks that we don't have any audience. Because I really want to, get suggestions and kind of like...
It's all right. We could just cry about...
Yeah. No, we won't be overcome. We will not be overcome.
True. We will not be overcome by evil.
By the evil of not getting views. It doesn't really matter. I was thinking about this too. I'm kind of doing this podcast for me and like the 20 viewers. I mean, that's a lot of views when you think about it for someone listening to a conversation. Like imagine we're in a room with 20 people and they're listening to us talk. That's kind of a lot.
Dang. Yeah.
Right?
So we're actually like pretty good then.
Yeah. We are good.
All right. Let's end with that.
Yeah, comment down below what we should do.
Yeah. Any ideas? Massively appreciated.
Peace.
Till next time. Thank you so much for watching or listening. If you'd like to go deeper, I'd love for you to check out our online Bible school, Kingdom Fit Bible College. You'll learn the whole Bible, Genesis to Revelation, with clear weekly video lessons, in-depth study notes, and no stress learning. No busy work, just the Bible. And it's all about making you fit for life in the kingdom of God. Check the link in the description to learn more. You'll also find a link in the description to our Bible study app, Bible Acts. It's packed with scripture commentary, reading plans, and tons of tools to help you understand and take action on God's Word every day. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a future episode. And if there's a passage or topic you want to see covered, just drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.